You already know it, don't you? You've been feeling it for a while now. That strange, quiet knowing that something fundamental has shifted. Not dramatically, not in a way you could point to and say, there, that's when everything changed. Just this persistent, almost sacred awareness that you are not living the same life you were living before. The people who used to matter don't hold the same weight anymore. The dreams you clung to for years feel like they belong to someone else. The version of you that everyone knows, the one that shows up, performs, smiles on cue, fits into the shape everyone expects. That version feels like a costume you're exhausted from wearing. Something ended, and you didn't even get to say goodbye. Your old life didn't collapse. It didn't explode. It didn't fall apart in a way that would justify your confusion. It just quietly, almost imperceptibly, came to an end while you were still living inside it. No announcement, no ceremony, no dramatic final scene, just a soft closing of a chapter you didn't realize was finishing. And now you're standing in this strange, in-between space. Not quite who you were, not yet who you're becoming. Just aware that the ground beneath you has shifted in a way that cannot be undone. There is no going back to the solid footing you once knew. You recognize this as the signal, the one you've been unconsciously waiting for without knowing what you were waiting for. Most people never reach this threshold. They spend entire lifetimes reinforcing who they've always been, building elaborate structures around identities handed to them by circumstance, by family, by fear, by survival. They mistake consistency for integrity. They confuse familiarity with belonging. They cling to patterns simply because they are known. But you couldn't do that anymore. Something in you refused to keep playing the role, refused to keep pretending that the life you built still fits the person you've become. And the moment you stopped pretending, even if you didn't announce it, even if you barely admitted it to yourself, everything began to recalibrate. Life does not wait for permission to align your outer world with your inner truth. The moment your internal frequency shifts, the external structure begins to move. Pieces rearrange, connections loosen, attachments dissolve. What once felt permanent starts to feel temporary, and it feels like loss. It feels like loneliness. It feels like instability, like you're doing something wrong because suddenly nothing feels certain or safe. The things that once anchored you now feel hollow. The conversations feel rehearsed. The goals feel mechanical. The applause feels distant. But you're not losing anything. You're shedding. You're molting. You're releasing a version of reality that can no longer contain who you are becoming. You've probably been trying to make sense of it, trying to explain to yourself why relationships that once felt foundational now feel thin, why success that once motivated you now feels empty, why the future you planned so carefully no longer excites you. You've searched for a reason, a catalyst, an event, a moment you can point to and say, that's when it changed. But there isn't one, because this isn't about something that happened to you. This is about something that happened in you. You evolved beyond the frequency of your old life. And now that life is dissolving around you, not because it was bad, not because it was wrong, but because it simply cannot exist at the level you're operating from now. Think about the person you were a year ago, the things they tolerated, the dreams they settled for, the love they accepted as enough, even though it left them quietly lonely, the version of success they chased, even though every step toward it felt like a subtle betrayal of something deeper. You can't be that person anymore, not because you made a dramatic decision, not because you forced yourself to change, but because something deeper than decision has already changed you. And your old life? It was built for that previous version. It was structured around their fears, their limitations, their beliefs about what was possible. It was designed to fit who you were then. It was never meant to hold this version of you. So it's ending, quietly, without destruction, without spectacle. Just a gentle, inevitable dissolution of everything that belonged to who you used to be. I know it's disorienting. I know it feels like you're floating in space with nothing to hold on to. I know there are mornings when you wake up and don't recognize the person looking back at you in the mirror. Not because your face has changed, but because everything internal has rearranged itself and you're still catching up. You are not in crisis. You have not failed. You did not take a wrong turn. This is what awakening actually looks like. Not the curated version, not the aesthetic version, the real one. The one that dismantles everything you thought you knew about yourself and leaves you standing in the rubble, asking, what now? What comes next cannot be planned. It cannot be predicted. It cannot be fully prepared for, because it doesn't come from who you were. It comes from who you are becoming. And that person hasn't fully arrived yet. They are emerging in the space between who you are leaving behind and who you are growing into. In the uncertainty, in the discomfort, in the willingness to not know while becoming someone who knows differently. Your old life ended the moment you could no longer pretend it was enough. The moment authenticity became more important than acceptance. The moment your inner whisper grew louder than the noise of expectation. Now you are in the void, the sacred space where transformation actually happens, where the old has released you, but the new has not yet solidified, where identities dissolve before new ones form, where certainty disappears so clarity can be born. Most people run from this space. They scramble to rebuild something familiar. They grasp at the nearest identity, the nearest relationship, the nearest purpose, anything to escape the discomfort of not knowing who they are. But you're still here, still in the uncertainty, still in the unbecoming, willing to let everything dissolve without forcing a premature reconstruction. That willingness is the signal, the fact that you have not rushed to replace what you lost, the fact that you have not forced clarity where there is none, the fact that you are still standing here, in the unknown, without demanding immediate answers. That is the proof. It means you are ready. Ready not in the way the world defines readiness, polished, certain, confident, fully formed, but ready in the deeper way, the quieter way, the way that says, I am willing to be remade, because what's coming does not fit who you were. It cannot fit who you were. It only fits who you are brave enough to become. And becoming is not glamorous. It is not tidy. It is not a clean transition from one solid identity to another. Becoming is a shedding, a stripping, a dissolving. It asks you to release before you receive. It asks you to empty before you are filled. And becoming requires this: the ending without fanfare, the death without ceremony, the quiet completion of a chapter you didn't even realize was closing until you were already standing inside the next one. It requires you to walk away without applause, to let go without explanation, to outgrow spaces that once felt like home without turning them into enemies just to justify your departure. So this is your confirmation, not from the outside world, not from a sign in the sky, not from someone giving you permission, from within. Your old life has ended, not because it failed, not because you failed, but because you reached its edge. And when you reach the edge of a version of yourself, you don't renovate it, you transcend it. The grief you feel, the disorientation, the sense that nothing makes sense anymore, none of that is wrong. It is evidence, evidence that something real is happening, evidence that you are shedding skin that no longer fits, evidence that you are outgrowing containers that once defined you, evidence that you can no longer compress yourself to stay comfortable. Of course it feels unstable. When a snake sheds its skin, it is vulnerable for a time. When a seed cracks open underground, it looks like destruction before it looks like growth. When a caterpillar dissolves inside a cocoon, there is a moment when it is neither what it was nor what it will be. You are in that moment. You are supposed to feel this. You are supposed to feel the ache of release. You are supposed to feel the wobble of uncertainty. You are supposed to question who you are without the roles, the labels, the expectations that once held you together. You are supposed to not have all the answers, because answers belong to fixed identities, and you are no longer fixed. You are fluid. You are supposed to be standing in this liminal space, this sacred in-between, wondering who you are without the identities you've worn for years, without the masks that once protected you, without the narratives that once explained you. It is uncomfortable to stand here. There are no clear instructions, no immediate validation, no guarantees. But this space is not empty. It is creative, because the new life, the one already forming, even if you cannot see its outline yet, requires someone who is no longer clinging to who they used to be. It requires someone who has loosened their grip, someone who can say, I don't know who I am becoming, but I trust that it is truer than who I was. It requires you as you are right now, uncertain, unanchored, transitioning between worlds, tender, a little raw, a little stripped back, more honest than you have ever been. It requires the version of you who no longer wants to perform, the version who values truth over approval, the version who would rather be misunderstood than misaligned. If you are still here, still reading, still breathing through the discomfort, still feeling this truth settle into your bones, then mark this moment, not with a dramatic announcement, not with a forced decision, but with quiet acknowledgement. This is the threshold, not because you know what's next, but because you are willing to trust that not knowing is part of the path, that clarity grows in darkness, that strength forms in uncertainty, that identity deepens in silence. Trust that this ending is not punishment, it is preparation. You are not being stripped for no reason. You are being cleared. Space is being made. Attachments are being loosened so that what is aligned can finally enter without resistance. Trust that this emptiness is not failure. It is fertile ground. The field looks barren before anything grows. The soil must be turned before seeds can take root. Silence must stretch before a new voice emerges. You are not behind. You are not lost. You are not broken. You are between. Between identities, between seasons, between stories. Your old life has quietly come to an end. And this time, you are not rebuilding out of fear. You are not reconstructing out of habit. You are not choosing from scarcity. You are allowing. And everything that truly matters, everything aligned, everything expansive, everything that matches the depth you have grown into, is just beginning. Not in a loud way, not with fireworks or sudden clarity, but in the quiet rearranging of your inner world, in the subtle shift of your standards, in the way you no longer chase what once consumed you. It is beginning in your discernment, in your refusal to settle, in your willingness to walk away from what cannot meet you where you now stand. Even if you cannot see it yet, even if the path ahead looks blank, even if your hands feel empty, even if it seems like more has been taken than given. Beginnings rarely announce themselves as beginnings. They feel like confusion. They feel like silence. They feel like standing in a hallway with every familiar door closed, wondering where the next one will appear. But just because you cannot see the architecture of your next chapter does not mean it isn't already under construction, especially because you cannot see it yet. Because when you cannot see it, you cannot control it. When you cannot define it, you cannot limit it. When you cannot predict it, you cannot shrink it down to the size of your old fears. The unseen future is not empty. It is unlimited. Stay here. Stay in the space where you don't rush to fill the silence. Stay in the place where you don't numb the discomfort. Stay long enough to let the old fully dissolve. Do not retreat back to what was familiar just because it was familiar. Do not rebuild a smaller version of your life just because it feels safer than the unknown. Stay. Let the uncertainty stretch you instead of scare you. Let it refine you instead of rush you. Stay open. Open to possibilities you haven't imagined. Open to versions of yourself you haven't embodied yet. Open to relationships that meet you at your new depth instead of your old wounds. Openness is vulnerability, yes, but it is also magnetism. It signals that you are no longer gripping the past. It signals that you trust expansion more than you fear change. Stay willing. Willing to outgrow what once fit. Willing to be misunderstood while you evolve. Willing to release timelines that no longer align. Willing to trust your inner shift even when the outer world hasn't caught up. Willingness is power. It is the quiet decision to say, I don't need certainty to continue. I don't need guarantees to grow. Because this right here, is the moment before everything changes. This is the pause before momentum, the inhale before the exhale, the stillness before movement. You are not stuck. You are gathering. You are not lost. You are recalibrating. You are not empty. You are making room. The life that matches your current depth cannot enter a space still cluttered with your former limitations. So space had to be made. And you, brave enough to feel the emptiness, are allowing that space to exist. That is why this moment matters. This quiet, this uncertainty, this in-between. It is sacred. Because from here, you will not build from fear. You will not choose from lack. You will not shrink to be accepted. From here, you will choose what expands you. You will choose what reflects your growth. You will choose what feels like truth instead of habit. And when it begins to unfold, when the right opportunities appear, when aligned people enter, when clarity replaces confusion, you will look back at this moment and understand. Nothing was falling apart. Everything was falling into place. So stay. Stay present in the becoming. Stay soft enough to receive. Stay strong enough to release. Because you are standing at the edge of a life that can finally hold who you have become. And this time, you are ready.